2% levy that allows it to self-finance and take care of itself. And the second one is the African Continental Free Trade Area should have a component to protect the economic potential of youth. So thank you again for this.
And we'll have more time, for discussion, but I want to go ahead and begin questioning, and I'll ask my questions last so my colleagues have an opportunity, especially since this is a fly-out day. We'll ask questions for 5 minutes. Everybody gets 5 minutes, and then if you want a second round, we'll do a second round. So I will go to my
Madam Chair, thank you very much. And again, thanks for calling this important hearing. Mr. Dongala, you really emphasized the importance of tackling the unemployment issue. And I think one of your comments about if we don't encourage Africa's transition to becoming the next largest consumer market in the world, the force of the youth bulge will likely turn Africa into the world's main conflict zone. That is an ominous warning about if we don't do what we can do to help encourage that youth employment. You also point out Chinese investors displace local labor. Maybe you want to speak to that issue. I thought your comment about, and all of your testimonies are fantastic, but there's only 5 minutes. Your comment about being in Senegal and that the impact of not having the training but not being able to find that job, and how discouraging that truly is to that young man that you spoke about, having spoken to his father. If you could speak to those issues, I'd appreciate it. And maybe you could elaborate a little bit on the 0.02% levy. I mean, that's one of your 2 recommendations. And then when you talk about free trade, we have a few things like AGOA, but that's very limited, but it's very important. We just had the U.S., Canada, Mexico Free Trade Agreement, which I think is the best trade agreement I have ever seen. When the AFL-CIO and the Chamber of Commerce both agree to it, it's historic. It has labor rights, environmental protections, and I voted against NAFTA and held several hearings when NAFTA was being considered, and it had none of those things. It had admonishments, it had, feckless language that did not do any of that. This one has all of that, so hopefully that could become a model for a greater Pan-Africa free trade agreement, please.
Ranking Member Smith, thank you for the question. Yes, to start on the free trade and the economic potential, I think what's very interesting, so, Dr. Strong mentioned about Ms. Tongara mentioned about the Chinese investment. When a lot of foreign investors, when they come into Africa, they can displace actually the economic opportunities for the local youth. So this is where trade agreements should have these sorts of protections. And in my recommendations, I recommended even, here in the U.S., we have the CFIUS, which is the Committee for Foreign Investment in the U.S. We actually review foreign capital coming into the U.S., making sure that it does, for national security purposes, that they're not buying. African bodies should have these sorts of review committees that are seeing the capital that's coming in. Is it actually achieving, is it not, okay, yes, you're building a bridge here and you're doing this and that, but are you doing it the right way? Are you affecting our youth, our local youth? So this is a sort of policy that we should encourage to happen in the region. On the 0.2% levy, I believe it was 2015 or 16 that the U.S. government opposed the 0.2% levy for this African Union to self-finance. The reason was about WTO rules, but really, I mean, this is something that can be negotiated, because if Africa is going to be the next largest destination for consumer goods, and also if we want Africa to be self-sustaining, protect itself, even fund the Sahel, it needs to have its own way to finance itself. So we even holding a hearing as to what are the workable solutions for the U.S. to support this self-sustaining